when the cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville gathered for what was supposed to be a peaceful dinner. No one expected the night would end with plates cold and tensions blazing. It wasn't just a small spat or a reality TV moment to boost ratings. This was something real. Melody, she walked in that night carrying more than just her confidence. She was carrying months, maybe even years of frustration. And when she finally locked eyes with Mars across that dinner table, it wasn't just about one comment. It was about everything that had been boiling beneath the surface. See, Melody and Mars' relationship had always been complicated. On camera, it looked cordial, maybe even respectful. But folks close to the show knew better. They knew about the side eyes during filming breaks, the tense silences backstage, the passive jabs disguised as jokes. It was all there if you paid attention. And Melody, she was done playing nice when she confronted Marsau. She didn't come in half-ready, she came with receipts. She brought up moments that had never made it into the final edits. Private meetings, shady business moves, times she felt disrespected, dismissed, or just straight up played. And the way she did it, calm, firm, no yelling, at least at first. She started by addressing something small, almost insignificant. A business decision Mars made that brushed past her input like it didn't matter. But Melody flipped that tiny moment into a microscope. She zoomed in and revealed the pattern. And that's when things shifted. Marca, always known for his cool-headed charm, tried to play it off with a little diplomacy. That only made it worse, because Melody wasn't there to play the game. She was there to flip the board. The room fell silent. Everyone at that table could feel it. The moment something real was happening, not for show, not for drama, but because two people had reached their breaking point. And the most shocking part, Melody didn't stop at that one issue. She brought it all out. Past moments where she said, Mars made her feel invisible. Times when her ideas were not the right fit until someone else repeated them. Decisions made behind closed doors that affected her without her. Merritt, for his part, wasn't exactly defensive, but he wasn't apologizing either. He insisted things were misunderstood, that nothing was ever personal. But Melody wasn't buying it, and at that point neither were most of the people watching the scene unfold. She made it clear this wasn't about egos or pride, it was about respect, or, more accurately, the lack of it. Now, here's where it gets deeper. What viewers didn't see was the emotional exhaustion behind Melody's boldness. This wasn't some impulsive outburst. It was a decision. She had reached a point where staying quiet felt more damaging than speaking. No matter the fallout, Mars, you could see it in his face. He was blindsided, not because he didn't see this coming, but because he didn't expect her to choose that night in front of everyone to finally say it all. The dinner wick started, with laughter and glasses clinking, ended in silence and social media firestorms. Fans weren't just watching a fight. They were watching a shift in the balance of the cast. Because once Melody spoke, the whole dynamic changed. Guys were chosen. Conversations that used to be light now carried tension, and people started wondering, what else had been going on behind the scenes? What else hadn't we seen yet? The morning after the dinner, it was like the entire internet had caught fire. Hashtags were everywhere. Fan pages turned into investigation hubs. Some were zooming in on Melody's expressions frame by frame. Others trying to lighter Mars. Quiet reactions. Everyone had an opinion and nobody was holding back. Team Melody or Team Mars. There was no middle ground. The confrontation wasn't just trending. It had officially become the most dissected moment of the season. Insiders say Melody expected the backlash and, in a way, welcomed it. For her, the confrontation wasn't just a personal release. It was a strategic move. She knew that silence often gets rewritten, but by saying her truth out loud in front of cameras and casts, she controlled the narrative. She wasn't going to let anyone else define what went down, and it worked. Within hours, fan support poured in. People called her brave, a truth teller, someone who finally said what others were too scared to say. Mars, though, wasn't used to this kind of public scrutiny. He'd always played the game a little differently. His quiet moves, calm words, let the audience read between the lines. But now he was caught in a firestorm he didn't start and couldn't control. His usual strategy of letting things blow over wasn't going to cut it this time, especially with fan accounts digging up past episodes, highlighting subtle jabs or moments they now saw in a new light. The internet was rewriting history with every clip they unearthed. Behind the scenes, things got messy fast. Other cast members suddenly found themselves in awkward positions. Some tried to stay neutral, not wanting to be dragged into the storm. Others, whether intentionally or not, picked sides with subtle comments or supportive posts. And just like that, the cast wasn't just dealing with a fallout from one explosive dinner. They were caught in a replefict that shifted everything. Production wasn't spared either. Planned group scenes got scrapped or reshot. Some cast members reportedly requested not to be paired with either Melody or Mars during certain scenes. Even the crew felt the tension. What had once been a tightly coordinated set became a maze of side conversations, whispered warnings, and constant damage control. And then came the real twist. People from outside the show started speaking up. Background acquaintances, past collaborators, even a few minor cast members came forward with stories. Some were vague, others very specific. They painted a picture of Melody and Mars' dynamic that stretched way beyond what fans had seen. Stories of business meetings that ended with shouting matches. Moments where one would shut down the other with a smile that didn't reach the eyes. It was no longer just about a dinner argument. It was about a history of silent tension, finally being dragged into the light. Melody's boldness made her a hero to many, but it also made her a target. Every move she made after the dinner was scrutinized. Did she post that quote on Instagram to throw shade? Was that hairstyle a power play? Did her silence in one group scene mean she was still mad? For Mars, it was the same. If he looked too calm, fans said he didn't care. If he looked upset, they said he was playing the victim. Neither of them could win in the court of public opinion. And yet, that court was now the most powerful influence in their world. And beneath it all, the question lingered. If this is what erupted in front of the cameras, what on earth was still hiding behind the scenes? Because insiders were whispering that the dinner was just the beginning and the real fire hadn't even started yet. Tensions behind closed doors had reached a boiling point. According to insiders, what fans saw on screen was only a fraction of the chaos happening off camera. Melody and Merritt feud had spilled into nearly every corner of production. Crew members were walking on eggshells. Even casual conversations felt like landmines. There were whispers that the two couldn't even be in the same room without producers stepping in to moderate. And when the cameras weren't rolling, things got even messier. Private confrontations were reportedly louder, more emotional, and brutally honest. Melody had stopped sugarcoating her feelings. She accused Marsau of manipulating narratives, undermining her efforts, and playing innocent while stirring drama in the background. She told him point blank that his diplomacy was nothing more than avoidance wrapped in charm. Marquette, who rarely raised his voice, finally snapped back. He accused Melody of turning every disagreement into a war, of hijacking group dynamics and making every issue about her. Neither one backed down. It wasn't just conflict, it was collision. Sources close to the production team claimed they had to scrap entire episode plans because of the fallout. Scheduled events were canceled. Interviews had to be done separately. At one point, it was rumored that production considered bringing in a mediator. Not for storyline drama, but to prevent the situation from imploding completely. The environment had turned toxic. Cast members were reportedly forced to choose where to sit, who to film with, and which projects to support. What began as a cast disagreement had become a full-in civil war. But what truly shook everyone wasn't the yelling or the silence, it was the leaks. Personal conversations, text messages, and private exchanges began surfacing online. Screenshots were circulated anonymously, some real, others possibly fabricated, but all of them damaging. One message allegedly showed Melody confronting Mars about a deal he made behind her back. Another hinted at a cast member intentionally feeding information to fan pages. The whole thing started to feel like a game of chess where everyone was a pawn except Melody and Mars, who were swinging at each other like queens on opposite ends of the board. Then came the biggest revelation of all. Something so unexpected that it sent shockwaves through the entire fan base. A former crew member came forward claiming that a pivotal storyline from the past season had been completely fabricated to protect one of the cast members' reputations. According to them, the person behind the move, Mars, and who allegedly opposed it from day one. Melody. This revelation reframed everything.